Would 0% unemployment be a good thing? Let's take a look. When considering unemployment rates, it's hard to determine what is the most appropriate unemployment rate to strive towards. And some people could think, well, if the economy is functioning well, no one should be out of work. Being out of work means that we're in a recession or we're not at full employment potential output. Well, that's not necessarily the truth that 0% unemployment is what we should strive for. And let's just understand why not. If we have 0% unemployment, that means that if you start a new business and you want to attract workers, there's no one that's out there looking for work. Think about it this way. There's men and women in the world, and let's say that you're interested in one of those categories, and for some reason, all of that category is spoken for. Well, if you suddenly become single because you lost your spouse to cancer, well, what can you do? There's no one out there available, so unless someone breaks up with someone else, there's just not any options. It's not necessarily something that's desirable. You want to be able to find the best match and not just find the only other person that's available if ever something happens to you. Same thing with jobs. You wouldn't want to have it in a way that if you become unemployed, you're trying to find that one fit, and it might be that someone died and created a position that's open. That wouldn't be good. And if there's just too many people looking for employees, more than the amount of employees that there is available, well, they're going to try to rip these employees from one another, which will lead to get this employee to stop working for this other company and to work for you. You're going to have to offer higher wages, and this other company is going to offer even higher wages to get back to you. That's the situation we have in this kind of like inflationary output gap boom phase, where there's just too much pressure, there's just too much demand for workers. That's just going to drive up prices till we reach a new equilibrium. So it's good to having a certain amount of unemployed people. And the reason why is you want to have some of these people transitioning between jobs. There is jobs available. There is people available to satisfy them. And you want to have the best match possible. You don't want an engineer to lose their job and then have to take a lawyer position. You want to be able to find the best match possible. So the two main reasons why unemployment exists is one, for frictional reasons, because of this idea that when you lose your job, you're not necessarily going to take the first one that pops up. So you're going to try to find the best match possible. So this requires time. To reduce that time, it's good to having as much information as possible in terms of what jobs are available. So if you think back 100 years, it was really hard to knowing what was available unless you went to somewhere where they had like a job board, and to centrally locate all the jobs was much more complicated. With the advent of the internet, well, there's a lot more consolidated resources where you could find that information, see what's available, see what different companies are paying, and try to make a decision more rapidly. So that's going to help that matching problem, but it's okay for people to transition and to try to find the best match possible. Then there's also these structural reasons that you might decide to start up a company that's based on producing something that's never been produced before. So therefore, some of these people have to be retrained. And some of these people might have experience producing something that just no longer exists, that we no longer produce because there's not much value in it anymore. We found a more advanced technologically tool. So you think about like all the mediums that we had over the years for watching a movie, like video cassette, CDs, DVDs, whatever. Those things evolve over time. So if you're used to doing one of them, you have to have a certain amount of time to retrain to be able to do another one. So that kind of training process in between jobs is also okay in a well-functioning economy. So having people looking for better jobs in this training process are just normal. It shouldn't be seen as we're going through a recession right now. That's why there's a certain amount of people that are unemployed. The big danger with unemployment is when you have people looking for work, but there's just no jobs available. And those are situations where that unemployment rate, let's say the normal potential output is at 4% unemployment. Well, when you have like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% unemployment, well, then you're getting more than just that normal level of unemployment between the people transitioning between jobs. And that's caused because there's just not much jobs available. There's other things that are coming into play that are leading to production level that's below potential, and we're in a recessionary output gap. What's normal, and that we shouldn't be striving for zero. It's normal to have some levels of unemployment, and it's mainly due to frictional, structural reasons. And the other reasons why we might have unemployment that goes beyond zero is because you can have a disconnect in the labor markets due to three big factors. And those three big factors are minimum wage laws, efficiency wages, or labor unions. And in all of those three cases, the common theme is that workers are getting paid more than what the free market would entail. So if you think about minimum wage, the only reason why minimum wage can have an impact is if it wasn't for minimum wage, these people would be paid less. So people are getting paid more. Efficiency wages is employers wanting to pay more than the going wage to try to attract the best workers. And labor unions typically pay more just because they're more together to negotiate, and they can negotiate better conditions than if it wasn't for this union. So in all of these situations, you have this wage that is greater than what the free market would entail. And because of that, you have a greater quantity supplied of workers that want to work for these different places versus the quantity demand of the workers because of this higher one. It's easier to see graphically, but all of those three also lead to some level of unemployment because of that gap between the two. And in all the cases, you have to remember that unemployment is not necessarily a bad thing. A certain level of unemployment is like a certain level of single people in the world. That's okay. As long as you're not single all your life, and as long as you could find good matches, if ever you were to get to be single again, that's okay to happen. If there's none, it's not going to work so well. And you just don't want to have too much. You just don't want to have too many people looking and they just can't find, and they're looking and looking and looking, and at some point they get discouraged and decide to either leave the country, go back to school, or to go on welfare. You don't want that to happen either. So in the other videos, we're going to look at what are the dangers of high levels of unemployment and people leaving the labor force, but we'll keep that for another video. I'll catch you guys on the next one. If you found this video interesting, please consider subscribing or joining my class where I guide you to apply and expand on the information found in these videos to real life examples. Have a good day.